Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something a little different.
Yeah, this one is special.
Usually we look at a book or a paper and we analyze the theory. But today we are opening a dossier.
A case file.
Exactly. And I want you to close your eyes for a second. We're traveling back in time. It's 1957, New Mexico.
The height of the atomic age. Cold War Central.
Right. Can you picture it? The heat it's just dry. Absolute. It bakes the gypsum crystals of the white sands proving grounds until they shimmer like a mirage.
And the smell.
Yes. You can smell the sulfur, the sawdust, and underneath it all, that sharp, almost chemical burn of rocket fuel. I mean, this is a place where the future is being built, one explosion at a time.
It's also a place that is defined by a very, very specific kind of fear. We are deep in the thick of the Cold War here.
Sputnik.
Sputnik is the elephant in the room, depending on the exact week. It's either about to launch or it's already up there beeping over everyone's heads.
Yeah.
And the paranoia is just, it's thick enough to chew on.
Every pair of eyes in America is looking up at the sky.
And wondering if the next flash of light is a falling star, a Russian weapon, or,
Oh.
well, or something else. Something that doesn't fit into either of those boxes.
And that something else is where we are living today. The source material we're unpacking is First Frontier by David A. McIntee.
Right.
Now, to the uninitiated, this might look like a novel, but for the purpose of this deep dive, we are treating this text as a lost history, a dossier of events that were scrubbed from the official record.
And it's a fascinating document. I mean, it presents a scenario that combines the high-stakes military tension of a Clancy techno-thriller with the visceral dread of sci-fi horror.
It's not just theory.
No, not at all. We're not just looking at political maneuvering. We're looking at transcripts of missile tests that went catastrophically wrong, descriptions of biological sampling on human subjects, and aerial chases that just defy the physics of the 1950s.
And at the center of this storm, we have a very mysterious set of assets. A traveler known only as the Doctor, who just wanders onto a high-security military base wearing a linen suit and a Panama hat. And he brings companions who, well, let's just say they don't exactly fit the 1957 demographic.
No, they stick out like a sore thumb. And it creates this incredible friction. You have the grounded, gritty reality of the U.S. Air Force. I mean, these are guys worrying about fuel mixtures and communism.
Degree real-world problems.
And they are clashing head-on with an alien threat that is so far beyond their comprehension, it's almost funny. But, it's not funny. It's terrifying.
Which brings us to our mission today. We are going to unpack the specific alien threat described in this text. The Tzun Confederacy.
The Tzun.
The Tzun. Even the name sounds sharp, doesn't it?
It does. And what we really need to understand, this is the core of our deep dive,
Yeah.
is that the Tzun didn't just invade with lasers and spaceships.
No, it was more subtle.
Much more. They weaponized human paranoia. They looked at the Cold War, at the fear between the U.S. and the Soviets, and they said, we can use this. They infiltrated the highest levels of the U.S. Air Force by playing on the very fears that were keeping those generals awake at night.
So let's open the file. Section 1, the incident at White Sands, October 4th, 1957.
A date that should ring a bell for any history buffs out there.
The launch of the Atlas missile. Now, looking at the specs here, the Atlas wasn't just any old rocket, was it?
Not even close. It was the Big Stick, America's first intercontinental ballistic missile. And it was an absolute technological nightmare to maintain.
I read that the structure was paper thin.
It was. Literally steel balloons. The metal skin was so thin that it had to be kept pressurized with nitrogen just to keep it from collapsing under its own weight.
So if you let the pressure out,
the whole thing just crumples. So when you picture Colonel Finney sitting in that bunker staring at the monitors, the tension is already at a 10. He just wants a clean launch.
Let's talk about Finney. He feels like the anchor in this whole crazy story, doesn't he?
I think so. He represents the old guard. He's a combat veteran, probably flew in Korea, given the timeline. He's tired. He's deeply skeptical of the intelligence agencies.
The spooks.
Exactly. He cares about his men, first and foremost, and he just wants a clean launch. He represents the military that fights wars with maps and artillery, not with shadows and whispers.
But he doesn't get a clean launch. The text says, bird is airborne, and for a second, maybe half a second, it looks good.
And then the radar operator starts screaming about anomalies.
Not a malfunction.
No, it's an interception.
Yeah.
A silver disc appears on the scope.
Yeah.
Just appears.
Now, in 1957, if you see a silver disc on radar, you're thinking one thing.
Secret Russian tech. Right, that has to be the first assumption. A new kind of spy plane.
But the movement, the text is so specific about the physics here.
Right.
This disk intercepts an ICBM that is climbing towards the stratosphere. And then it stops,
Stops.
like slows down.
Or no. Instantaneously stops. Zero velocity. In physics, that is just. It's impossible for a physical object with mass. The inertia alone should tear the structure apart. If there was a pilot inside, their brain would liquefy and exit through their ears.
It's a complete violation of Newton's laws.
It goes from Mach speeds to a dead hover in 0 seconds flat.
Okay, so that's our first huge clue that we aren't dealing with the Soviets.
Right. The Soviets were good, but they still had to obey the laws of motion.
Sure.
This thing treats inertia like a polite suggestion.
And then the Air Force does what they do best. They send in the cavalry.
F-86 Sabre jets.
The pride of the fleet at the time.
Absolute beautiful planes. But against this, it's like sending a biplane against a lightning bolt. And there's this harrowing account from a pilot named Stevens.
Right, he's the one who engages.
He engages the disc, he's pushing his Sabre to the absolute limit, cannons ready to fire, and the disc just bats him away.
Bats him away? What does that even mean?
It uses some kind of slipstream or a force field. It's not a weapon, not in the traditional sense. It's a wave of force that hits the jet and sends it into a flat spin.
Oh, that's a death sentence in a jet.
It is. Stevens describes the G-forces crushing him, his vision graying out, the rivets on his plane screaming as they try to hold the wings on. It establishes immediately that this isn't a fight. It's a pest control situation, and we are the pests.
And while Finney is watching his pilot nearly die on the monitors, we get introduced to the other side of this coin.
Major Creer.
Major Creer, he just walks into the bunker like he owns it.
He's with the AFOSI, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. If Colonel Finney is the grunt, the soldier, Creer is the spook.
And the text describes him as having a charming smile but burning eyes.
That's a dossier red flag if I've ever heard one. A big one.
Huge. And he arrives with specific knowledge of the incident before the radar even properly picked it up. He knows what's happening.
He's calm. Way too calm. While Finney is sweating bullets about his pilot and a multi-million-dollar missile, Creer is talking about containment and security protocols. He represents the deep state, before we even had a popular name for it.
So we have this military reality playing out on the base. Hostile disks, impossible physics, near-fatal encounters. But outside the razor wire fences, the public is being fed a completely different narrative.
The Space Brothers.
Tell us about that.
This is such a crucial piece of the puzzle. In the 1950s, you had this contactee movement. These were people who claimed they'd met aliens, and those aliens were always beautiful, blonde, benevolent beings who wanted to save us from nuclear war.
And the text gives us a perfect example of this in a character named Robert Agar.
Right. Agar is a civilian. He's a true believer. He's bought into the whole thing. He thinks these visitors are brothers from another planet, and he even calls them Xeno. He believes they're here to bring world peace.
It's almost heartbreaking, isn't it, looking at it from our perspective? He thinks he's meeting an angel.
But the military knows they're dealing with a hostile airspace violation. It's a masterful manipulation by the hostile force. The text details a meeting Agar has with Xeno.
What does Xeno look like?
He looks human mostly. Blonde hair, blue jumpsuit, very handsome. He tells Agar, "We mean no harm." He plays right into that desperate human desire for a savior. The public is terrified of the bomb, so the aliens show up and say, "We will save you from the bomb." It's the perfect cover story.
But the cover slips, and when it slips, it gets very, very ugly.
It does.
Which brings us to Section 2, the abduction phenomenon. We have the account of Jack Siegel, and let me tell you, this is not a space brother encounter.
No. This is where the genre shifts from military thriller to straight-up horror. Jack Siegel is a local farmer, down-to-earth, tough guy, but he has an encounter that just breaks him.
It starts with the animals, right?
Always.
Yeah.
That primal warning system. The dogs go crazy, the horses are stamping and kicking in the barn.
They know something's wrong.
Exactly. And then the noises on the roof, the strange, oppressive silence that falls over the desert. When Siegel goes out to investigate, he doesn't see a handsome blonde man in a jumpsuit.
He sees a shadow.
A shadow, and he describes it as small, monkey-like.
Chilling, and then the paralysis.
The classic abduction experience.
Yeah.
The text gives us access to his fragmented memory, which the doctor later helps him retrieve. He isn't taken to a golden city in the clouds. He's taken to a sterile room.
Yeah.
And the detail that really sticks with me is the smell.
Ammonia.
Ammonia and cleaning fluid. That one olfactory detail just grounds the horror. It smells like a hospital, but wrong. It smells like a slaughterhouse that's just been bleached.
And that's where he sees them, the grays.
The classic gray alien. Large black eyes, dead gray skin, no emotion, And they're holding needles. He feels a sharp pain. He sees them taking samples. This isn't spiritual enlightenment. It's cold, detached biological sampling. It's a lab test.
And they leave a receipt.
They do. A red wheal on his abdomen with a single pinhead-sized spot of dried blood. It's undeniable physical evidence of an invasive, non-consensual procedure.
So we have this perfect duality. The Space Brothers are out there pacifying the masses with these wonderful words of peace and harmony.
While the Greys are in the background, paralyzing farmers and taking biological samples. It's a planetary scale, good cop, bad cop routine.
And they have the tech to keep it quiet.
Oh, absolutely. The text mentions a neural inhibitor. It's a device they use to wipe memory. They scrub the event from Siegel's mind, leaving him with just a vague sense of lost time and a deep, gnawing unease. If it weren't for the doctor's intervention, Siegel would have just been another guy with a weird scar and a bad dream he couldn't quite remember.
Speaking of the doctor, let's move on to Section 3. We really need to profile these assets that appear in the dossier because, frankly, they are the wildest variables in this entire equation.
They certainly are. The report treats them as factual, which makes their descriptions even more jarring. First, we have the doctor.
How does the text characterize him? He sounds eccentric.
He's an enigma wrapped in a linen suit. He walks into a top-secret military facility, a place with shoot-on-sight orders, armed with nothing but an umbrella and a Panama hat.
That's insane confidence.
Or something else. He claims to be a freelance troubleshooter. He flashes a wallet, and it's implied this is some kind of psychic paper that convinces these seasoned military guards that he has majestic clearance.
Majestic. As
A
if...
majestic 12.
Yeah.
The rumored top-secret committee that supposedly manages the entire UFO issue, the highest clearance there is. When a doctor literally bluffs his way into the heart of the operation.
And he has tools.
He uses hypnosis to help Jack Siegel recover his memories. He uses a sonic screwdriver to open electronic locks that shouldn't even exist yet. He operates with a level of intelligence and, frankly, arrogance that suggests he sees 1957 technology as quaint.
Like a modern engineer looking at a steam engine.
Exactly. And then there's Ace.
I love Ace.
Yeah.
She seems to be the kinetic energy of the group.
The muscle, for sure. But that really simplifies her too much. She's a young woman in a bomber jacket, but she carries weaponry that simply should not exist in the 50s. The text describes her using blasters.
Directed energy weapons.
Directed energy weapons,
Yeah.
which is just, it's insane. We're talking about an era where a transistor radio was the absolute cutting edge, and she's walking around packing a laser pistol.
And she's not just carrying it for show.
Oh, no. She knows how to use it. She's described as an explosives expert. She rides a motorcycle like a pro. She can hijack aircraft. She has a very, very low tolerance for authority. While the doctor's trying to talk his way past the guards, Ace is calculating the blast radius needed to just blow the gate open.
A different approach.
A much more direct approach. And then you have the third member, Bernice Summerfield. Benny.
Benny, she's the academic, right?
Benny is the intellectual bridge. She claims to be an archaeologist, but from the 26th century.
Which, obviously, she has to hide.
Right. She passes herself off as Australian to explain her accent and her slightly odd slang. But her role is crucial. She provides the historical context. She knows what is supposed to happen in 1957. She knows that there wasn't supposed to be an alien invasion at White Sands.
So she knows the timeline is wrong.
She realizes they are in a lost history, a timeline that have been tampered with. She's the one who understands the scale of the damage.
So this trio, this strange team, they infiltrate the base, they use confidence tricks, future tech, and occasionally brute force. And they find the smoking gun.
Or rather, the crash disk.
They find it.
They find a saucer down near High Rolls. This confirms everything. It wasn't a weather balloon, it wasn't a Soviet prototype, but their investigation gets interrupted. Ace runs into the Blue Berets.
Major Creer's private army.
And this is where the paranoia just ramps up to 11. Ace is a fighter. She knows soldiers. She knows how they move, how they think. But these guys...
They're different.
They are all blonde. They're all identical. They move with a terrifying, synchronized uniformity. They don't flinch. They don't panic. They are biologically distinct from the regular Air Force grunts.
Which brings us to the big reveal. Section 4. Who are these people? Or things? The text finally identifies them as the Tzun Confederacy.
The Sun. And this is where we need to really dig in, because their society is a dark, twisted mirror of our own. They're an ancient warrior race, yes, but they're defined by a specific deep trauma.
A past war.
Their history mentions a devastating war with a species called the Darklings, A fungoid race that nearly wiped them out, that almost drove them to extinction.
So they're survivors.
They're survivors who learned the absolute wrong lesson from it. Their core philosophy became survival of the fittest, taken to its most extreme conclusion. But they didn't just apply it to warfare. They applied it to their own genetics.
They started engineering themselves.
They became masters of genetic engineering. They don't just build tools, they build themselves for the job, which leads to their caste system.
It's biological.
It's rigid and it's biological. At the very top, you have the purebloods. An example is the first counselor, Shokarl. The text describes him as physically frail in Earth's environment. He needs life support tubes, implants, just to breathe our air. He's the brain, the strategist. He represents the ancient pure lineage.
And the Greys we saw earlier.
They are the SRAF, the worker caste. They are the pilots, the grunts. Small, efficient, engineered for high G tolerance and vacuum. They're essentially mass-produced biological robots. Expendable.
But the most terrifying cast, the one that really turns this from a sci-fi story into a horror story, is the Fuzzor.
The infiltrators.
Yeah.
And this introduces the concept of pantropy.
Okay, break that down for us. Pantropy.
Okay, so in most science fiction and even in our own real-world space program, we talk about terraforming.
Right. Changing a planet to be like Earth.
Exactly. Taking a planet like Mars and changing its atmosphere, its temperature, to make it look like Earth so we can live there. Pantropy is the complete reverse. It means changing yourself to fit the planet.
So instead of wearing a spacesuit, you grow thicker skin and different lungs.
Precisely. You rewrite your own DNA to breathe methane or to withstand crushing gravity. The Tzun are masters of pantropy. The Fuzzor are their ultimate expression of it. They're hybrids.
Human-sun hybrids.
They take sun DNA and they splice it with the DNA of the dominant species of the target planet, in this case, us.
So Major Creer.
Major Creer, Captain Stoker, the Blue Berets, they're all Fuzzor. They look human, they walk like us, talk like us. But under the surface, they are sun.
And there are tells.
They have violet eyes, a core trait of their species, which they have to hide with contact lenses or very specific lighting. They lack human empathy because their brain structure, their neurology, is fundamentally different.
That is deeply, deeply unsettling. It means the enemy isn't just at the gates, he's sitting in the briefing room. He's signing the orders.
It's the ultimate sleeper agent. They don't just learn the language, they become the population. And there are other biological quirks. The text mentions they see into the blue and ultraviolet spectrums.
So their vision is different.
Totally different. That's why the lighting in the secure areas of the base is described as pastel blue or weirdly tinted. They are slowly terraforming the environment inside the base to suit their vision, while they've already terraformed themselves to suit our atmosphere.
And speaking of their environment, let's talk about their hardware. Section 5. Alien technology. Because the Doctor is absolutely fascinated by the metal of their ships.
Cerulean metal. This is a concept that is only now, in the 2020s, starting to be theorized in real science as programmable matter or metamaterials.
The text calls it software definable.
Imagine a hull with no seams, no bolts, no rivets. It's a single solid smooth surface. But you need a door. So you send a signal, and the molecules of the metal simply unlock. They rearrange themselves to create an opening, then they seal back up perfectly. It's fluid and solid at the same time.
That would explain why the recovery team said diamond-tipped drills couldn't even scratch it.
Exactly. It doesn't break. It has to be told to open. It's responsive matter.
And then there are their weapons, the disruptors.
Their sidearms. Nasty pieces of work. Ace gets hit by a stun setting, and it nearly puts her down, but on full power. The text explains the mechanism. It's ultrasonics riding a microwave beam.
Microwaves cook water. Humans are, what, 70% water?
Exactly right. It ruptures your cells from the inside out. It essentially boils you instantly. It's a horrific, agonizing way to die. It just shows that the Sun aren't interested in clean, honorable warfare. They want brutal efficiency.
And we have to circle back to their propulsion system, the graviton drives.
This is the key to their complete aerial superiority. We use rockets action and reaction. Throw fire out the back to go forward. The Sun use gravitons. They manipulate the gravity waves around the ship itself.
So they aren't pushing themselves forward, they're falling.
In a way, yes. A simplified way to put it is they create a gravity well in front of the ship and fall into it continuously. But because they're manipulating the local gravitational field, they don't feel inertia in the same way.
Which is how they make those impossible turns.
That's how they can turn 90 degrees at Mach 10. Because relative to the little bubble of space-time the ship is in, they haven't moved at all. The universe moved around them.
The F-86s didn't stand a chance. It's like trying to catch a shadow with a net.
You can't. And the text also mentions the Tzun skiff. This is a small scout ship. The doctor realizes pretty quickly it's a Trojan horse.
They let us capture it.
Yes, they either crashed one on purpose or just left one to be found. The military, of course, brings it into the most secure hangar on the base. Look at this amazing prize we found. But really, they just invited the enemy's delivery van right into their living room. It allowed the Tzun to move equipment and personnel directly into the base without ever having to fight their way in.
Which leads us to the heart of the conspiracy, Section 6, Corman Air Force Base. This is Creer's personal playground, and we find out about the man who is nominally in charge, General Nyby.
General Nyby is the real tragedy of this story. He's the base commander. He should be the one person capable of stopping this. But the text describes him as a zombie.
Not literally.
No, not literally, but he's functioning. He signs papers, he returns salutes, but he's vacant. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
Mind control.
The doctor investigates and finds these alien gems. The text names them Andromedan bloodstone and Ulion implanted in the general. He literally has a receiver plugged directly into his cerebral cortex. He's a meat puppet.
So the Tzun decapitated the entire command structure without firing a single shot. They just turned the general into their own personal drone.
And with the general under their control and Creer handling all base security, they were able to build a massive underground complex right beneath Corman AFB.
And what's down there?
It's a slice of the Sun homeworld. They've engineered it to have low gravity and an ammonia-tainted atmosphere. This is where the purebloods, the leadership live. This is where they are staging the real invasion from.
In Creer, we know he's a traitor, but why? What's his motivation? Is it just power?
It's desperation. Creer is a Sora hybrid. But the text implies the process isn't perfect. He's genetically unstable. He's breaking down. He's helping the Sun because he thinks they will cure him. He thinks if he hands them the entire planet, they will fix his flawed DNA.
But the Sun don't work that way, do they?
Wow. To the purebloods, Creer is just a tool, a useful but ultimately flawed subject for processing. Once he's served his purpose, he's garbage. It's the classic deal with the devil.
So what is the devil's plan? Section 7, the master plan, why go to all this trouble? Why the secrecy, the infiltration? Why not just park a warship over New York and start firing?
Because that's messy and expensive. The Sun prefer a strategy of divide and conquer. Their primary objective is something called Project Javelin, also known as Project Snowbird.
Which is?
Stealing nuclear warheads from the U.S. stockpile.
Our own nukes. They're using our own weapons against us.
Exactly. They are smuggling 2 medium-yield warheads out of the base. The plan is to ship them to Washington, D.C., and the dossier implies there's a parallel operation targeting Moscow at the same time.
A false flag operation.
The ultimate false flag. You detonate a nuke in D.C. Who does America blame? The Russians. You detonate one in Moscow. Who do the Soviets blame? The Americans. The Sony was to trigger World War III.
They want us to do all the heavy lifting for them.
Precisely. Let the monkeys destroy themselves. Let the humans burn their own cities to the ground. Then, when the dust settles and the radiation levels finally start to drop, the Sun sweep in, mop up the handful of survivors, and claim a slightly irradiated but otherwise intact planet.
It's horrifyingly efficient. It saves them resources, troops, everything.
It's terrifying because it's so plausible. The paranoia was already there in 1957. They just had to light the match.
And they have a way to make sure the fires can't be put out.
Yes. To ensure the chaos is absolute, they have a global jamming exercise planned. They are going to disrupt all electromagnetic signals on the entire planet simultaneously.
No radio, no radar, no telephone.
Nothing. Planes will fall out of the sky. Orders won't get through. It isolates every single military unit. When the bomb goes off, no one will be able to call off the retaliation. It guarantees mutually assured destruction.
So the clock is ticking down. The doctor, Ace, and Benny are the only ones who know the full plan. They're cornered at the airfield. Section 8, the Great Escape. And I have to say, this sequence in the dossier reads like a blockbuster movie.
It really does. They have to stop those warheads from reaching Washington. Ace spots a plane on the tarmac.
A guppy.
Okay, for those who don't know their aviation history, a guppy isn't exactly a sleek fighter jet.
No, it's the Aerospace Line's Pregnant Guppy. It's a heavily modified Boeing Stratocruiser. It has this massive, bulbous fuselage designed to carry oversized cargo, like rocket stages for the Apollo program. It looks like a flying whale. It's slow, it's heavy, and it is absolutely not designed for combat or high-speed chases.
But Ace looks at it and decides, this is our ride. It's the only thing big enough to carry the cargo she suspects is already on board. So they get on it. Ace jumps in the pilot's seat. But the base is on full alert. The Blue Berets and the mind-controlled airmen block the runway.
With a B-57 bomber, a jet.
They park a jet bomber right across the main runway. Now, basic physics says a fully loaded guppy cannot possibly take off in the distance remaining. It's too heavy, it needs more speed.
So Ace cheats physics.
She uses what the text calls space fleet tricks. She hauls the yoke back way before V1, the normal rotation speed. She is forcing the nose up against its will. The plane is shuddering, the stall warning is just screaming. The text describes the sensory overload, the engines roaring, the metal groaning under the strain.
And does she clear the bomber?
They don't clear it, not really. The undercarriage of the guppy smashes into the top of the B-57's fuselage. It shears off the landing gear completely. Sparks, debris, the sound of tearing metal. But that impact, that violent scrape, actually kicks the nose of the guppy up just enough. They claw their way into the air, bleeding hydraulic fluid, dragging a trail of smoke. It's a desperate, ugly, messy escape.
And once they are airborne, they check the cargo hold. And they find out that Tzun weren't just bringing the nukes.
No, they find crates and crates of phased plasma rifles.
Okay, that sounds familiar, like from a movie.
It's a nod to the Terminator franchise, almost certainly. But in the context of this dossier, it represents future tech. These are weapons that shouldn't exist on Earth until 2024. The Tzun were pre-positioning heavy infantry weapons in Washington, D.C. They were preparing for the ground war that would follow the nuclear exchange.
So now the stakes are crystal clear. The doctor realizes he has to cut off the head of the snake.
Right. He literally jumps out, leaves the plane to go back to Corpsman AFB and confront the Tzun leadership directly.
Which leaves Ace and Benny flying a damaged, gearless, pregnant whale of a plane filled with nukes and plasma rifles on a collision course with the Capitol.
And they are definitely not alone up there in the sky.
No. The Tzun have a warship in orbit, a Stormblade. It's tracking them.
And this is what I find so interesting. If they have a giant warship in orbit, why not just vaporize the guppy? Why let them keep flying?
Good question. Why?
This brings us back to the Tzun psychology. They have something called the precepts. It's their code of honor. It's twisted, it's brutal, but it's there. To simply zap the doctor or his friends from orbit would be dishonorable. It would be an admission that they couldn't outsmart them on the ground.
So it's pure ego.
It's warrior pride. They want to defeat the doctor strategically. They want to prove their genetic and intellectual superiority. They want to checkmate him, not just flip the board over.
Yeah.
And that arrogance, that one flaw, gives our heroes the sliver of a chance they need.
Incredible. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just zoom out. What are we really looking at here with this dossier?
We are looking at a lost history where an alien species almost ended the world, not through overwhelming force, but through surgical manipulation. The key takeaway for me is the terrifying efficiency of the Tzun. They studied us. They understood that our greatest weakness wasn't our lack of laser guns. It was our fear of each other.
They weaponized the other. They turned us against ourselves.
Precisely. They used the Space Brothers narrative to fool the hopeful, and they used the Soviet threat to fool the fearful. They played both sides against the middle and nearly burned the whole world down. They played us like a fiddle.
And the technology? The pantropy. That's the part that sticks with me.
That's the lingering horror, isn't it?
Yeah.
The text describes them rewriting their own DNA to look exactly like us. It describes starship metal that can change shape to hide doors and weapons. It raises the ultimate, terrifying question. If an alien species can do all that, if they can be anyone and hide anywhere,
How would we know if they lost?
or if they are just biding their time. If Major Creer can sit in a Pentagon briefing room and look perfectly human, who else is a fissure? Is it your boss? Is it the politician on TV making promises?
That is a chilling thought. The first frontier is in outer space. It's the person standing right next to you.
And that is the absolute brilliance of this dossier. It takes the external threat of aliens from the sky and turns it into an internal, inescapable paranoia.
Well, on that happy note, I think I'm going to go check my coworkers for violet contact lenses.
Good luck with that. Let me know what you find.
Stay curious, everyone, and maybe question the official narrative just a little bit.
Always.
Thanks for listening.